Trying to connect. Of course. I don't even know. How do you do this? Connection available. Go live. Ha. This is amazing. I think we're live.
Okay.
I think we're live. All right. Hello. This is Riza Johnson and Dr. Judy Manning. Hello, everyone. This is an exciting day for me because we get to hear about one of my favorite persons. She is. And we were just talking and we're like, wait a minute. We're about to go live. And you can't start telling stories before we go live.
But I have so many.
But you have so many. Well, that's great.
True story.
So, how are you?
Life is good. It is also crazy. I'm trying to think if you even know that I adopted a teenager.
I do.
Because I'm stupid.
No.
Normal people do not adopt teenage males. I'm not normal. So
Okay.
Andrew has been living with me since October, and I'm doing the proud mom thing at the football games and staying up late on Friday and Saturday nights where I don't have a social life, but his social life rocks.
Yes.
So, until he can drive, I'm the taxi mom, which I know you know nothing about.
No.
No
Never.
Soccer games.
Oh, God, no,
nothing,
not at all. Not every weekend.
It becomes
Everywhere.
your social life.
Yes, that is my social life.
Absolutely.
Actually, I don't speak to the other parent.
Yeah, I
Can you
try
believe
not
that? I don't want to. Like, leave me alone. I know that sounds terrible, guys. I'm really not that. I mean, I'm not unsociable, but I'm just saying. Sometimes I just don't want to talk to anybody.
Little alone time while they're on the field.
Yes.
Yes.
But I'm out there. My excuse is that I'm recording and taking pictures of my child. And I have nothing to say other than don't talk bad about my child. I'm just kidding. They do. Anyway. I probably talk about it. But listen, we're here because I am so excited about sharing your story. Okay? Since we met,
Yes.
we've had numerous conversations, most of which I took away a lot of value. Just because you were able to be transparent with me and you were sharing you were vulnerable in many instances. And the things that you were saying to me just really touched me. So that's why I wanted to share with the world. And I did ask you, would you mind sharing? Because I think your story is so impactful. And so I kind of wanted to go there, go into that space and ask you about, tell me a little bit how does all this journey got started for you? Because I know you have quite a bit. And the world needs to know. Because the world needs to know that, hey, if Dr. Judy can overcome all of these things that we're going to talk about, and I can tell you, she's going to tell you, that there's hope for other people.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Please do share.
Okay, so I'm guessing the number one thing you want me to share is my cancer story.
Yes.
In March 17th of 2004, I was given 3 weeks to 3 months to live. I was told that there was no hope. They would give me palliative care, but that I needed to go home and share with my family that we needed to prepare for my funeral. So, after asking a few probing questions like, are you sure? What are the statistics? And the poor oncologist went, yes, ma'am, you have a 0% chance of beating this. Statistically, there is 0 chance.
Wow.
And it was because it was a rare form of cancer to this day. I am an N of 1. I am the only person who has beat it more than 5 years.
Wow.
And I am currently still in remission, and it's now been, 14 years. So 14 years later, I'm still alive. And the cancer story certainly is a long, drawn-out story and a very rough journey. I was burned when I had radiation, so I had the most severe burns that you could have, and because I had a female cancer, you can do the extrapolation to figure out where the burns were. It was the most horrific pain I've ever been in.
Wow.
And for me, the reason I fought so hard was because I was married to the love of my life. We were high school sweethearts, and I didn't want to leave him with no one there.
Wow.
And so for me, my attitude was, okay, so you say I'm not going to beat this, and you may be right, but if anybody can beat it, I'm going to be the one.
You were betting on yourself.
I was. And of course, my oncologist patted me and, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. okay.
Right.
So that night I sat down and I told the love of my life what's going on. And we both said, no, we're going to be this. We're going to do it. And initially, that certainly didn't seem to be what was going to happen. By July, I went ahead and called my family in, and we had Christmas in July because I really believed that would be the last time that family would see me alive. I had really dwindled in weight. I was very weak. I was working full time because, I had medical insurance through a job, so I had to work.
Wow.
It's not an option. But it was very difficult. There were days when I would lay on the floor and they would put my laptop on the floor and they would put the phone on the floor, and I did my work off of the floor. What is interesting is, yes, I lived. What is odd is that a year to the day later, my husband was on the way to work and he was killed in a car accident. And I got the call that the love of my life was gone in a heartbeat. I did not make it to the hospital in time before he passed. And my initial, of course, I was sad, but then I thought, gosh, this is a great plan, God. This is a wonderful plan. You spared him from watching me slowly die. You took him before you take me home. So this is a great plan. I've already prepared my funeral. My family's ready for me to die. This is good planning, God. Yeah, well, that didn't work out. What happened was I planned my funeral only for 3 weeks later after my husband passed away. My oncologist did not know he had passed. I went in for my chemo appointment, and they said, you're not going to chemo today. And I'm like, I was right. God has a plan. He's killing me now. They're going to tell me there's no more hope. Awesome. I'm ready for this.
Wow.
Now, UAB is a teaching hospital, so when we got to the doctor's office, I'm sitting there prim and proper. They usher in 8 residents who surround the little exam table in the office, and I'm like, oh, they're going to teach these poor boys and girls who are so young and kind. They're going to teach them how to tell a patient it's over. Well, they all sat there with their clipboards, and my oncologist said, well, Judy, we do have some news to tell you.
Wow.
You're cancer-free.
What?
Everybody breaks out, yay, except me. I burst into tears, and I go, you promised me I was dying. You said I was dying. And I said, you didn't know, but Tommy just died in a car wreck. I don't want to be here anymore. Wow. At that point, the really smart nurse ushered all the residents out, and I've often wondered what happened to those people because they were there. No, never saw them again. I mean, they were just they were at a teaching hospital. It was their little rotation. But I've often wondered, what did they tell their family that night when they went home? Because they were like ready to clap and cheer.
Right. Only to hear what you said.
Yes, exactly. And so when the doctor got them out and he said, we didn't know. And I said, I know you didn't know. But you promised me I would die. And he was so sweet. And this actually sounds terrible, but it was a wonderful thing to hear. He reached over and he goes, well, statistically, you still probably are going to die. I'm like, okay, well, you promised me. And he said, well, statistically, it's probably still going to happen. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not ready to live. I'm ready to go. Wow. I've said goodbye. And, the one person in the love of my life is gone. I don't want to be here anymore. So I would love to say that I got over that real quick and was happy-go-lucky the next day and thrilled that God had spared me. Not so much. It took months of figuring out what's the purpose. Why am I still here? How come I have to stay? And for a long time, and I speak to a lot of groups, and at that time I was doing a lot of speaking at women's groups. So every time I spoke to them, I would say, obviously God has a purpose for me. So if you are the one who's not listening to God, you need to clean out your ears. You need to listen because you are keeping me from my husband. So if you're the one who isn't listening to God, come on, get it right.
So I can go
home.
I
can go home because my home is not here anymore. Wow. My home's in heaven. And so every time I spoke, at least a couple of women would come up. It was me. I think I'm the reason you're still here. And I'd be, all right, well, get to it. And then another month would pass, 2 months would pass.
And this is how long
here? Well, that went on for the first 5 years. For the first 5 years, I kept saying, any day now, it's got to come back. Because statistically, no one has lived past 5 years. Why would I live more than 5 years? And about the 4th year, I'm like, okay, God, come on now. Chop, chop. We're on a time frame here. I don't want to get too old before you take me because I don't know. Do we get a new body? I'm not sure. I already got enough wrinkles. So, I kept looking. I kept waiting. Something's going to happen.
Wow.
And when we got to 5 years, I'm like, all right, what's going on?
Wow.
And I'll tell you, I had to make peace with, I don't know why my life was spared. I can't answer that. I'll never be able to answer that till today. I don't know why somebody's grandma passed. I don't know why your spouse passed. And yet somebody who was not supposed to make it, made it. But what I know is it isn't about me. It has nothing to do with me. Okay. It has to do with how I'm going to be used. And obviously there was still a purpose, whether I wanted to have a purpose or not. Right. God had a purpose. And so what I finally came to the conclusion of is, all right, I'm still not thrilled on a daily basis. I every so often I'm like, really, are we not there yet?
What's happening here?
Well, and life has continued to throw me curves. And here's what I know for sure. There are people who will have it a lot worse than me. And on the worst days, when I was fully in cancer, full with the burns, and was hurting and, couldn't take any medication because if you're hurting that bad, that's morphine.
Oh, wow.
And with morphine, you can't work, you can't drive. So I refused to have pain meds. I muscled through it and just did it because I had to work. I knew I had to still do what I needed to do. But what I really learned is I may never know why this is my destination. This is why my path was done this way. But on the worst day, I have had a fabulous life. I have always had people who loved me. I've had a roof over my head. I've had more than enough food in my body. And I went to bed every night knowing that I was wholly and completely loved. There are people who will sleep tonight who will never know that feeling.
Wow.
While they're on this earth. So at my worst, that's like skyrocket best compared to other people. So what have I got to complain about? Now that doesn't mean that on certain days I don't, oh, poor pitiful me. Everybody does that.
Yes.
But on a day-to-day basis, I try and remember I am blessed, and I am really blessed to have the life that I have. I work hard, yes, but there are a lot of people who work hard, who have trouble making ends meet, who don't have some of the things that I have. And so part of my credo for me is that I want to share what I have. It's not all about me. And so, life has still not been super easy. I did adopt by choice. And it was funny, I met the child 2 years ago and offered to adopt, and he went home that night and told his house parents, she'd be too controlling. I'm not going with her. She'd be too controlling. And I told him later, I said, you were right. I am too controlling.
Wow.
But that's what parents do. Parents watch what their children are doing, and you shepherd them back in when they're getting out of line. Yes. You give them room to grow, but then you call them back in when you need to, and he's learning that. And then some other things have happened in my life. I did eventually, long time after, remarry, and now my husband is for the third time fighting terminal cancer. And we don't know.
How is he, by the way?
His attitude is great.
Okay.
Health, not so much.
Hey, did he get that car that he wanted? That you were like, why are we getting a new car?
Yes. Like many men in their 50s, he did purchase the car of his dreams. And, it's one of those things where you go, okay, that's not what I value.
Right.
But it made him feel good. And, while I have fussed on Facebook a few times to friends, you know what? If that
I remember when it happened, you were like, can you believe this is what I'm dealing with right now? And I was just cracking up because I'm like, okay, Miss Judy,
oh, yes.
I don't know what to tell you. And you were...
Well, I haven't killed him yet.
Yeah.
Cancer's working on it, but I haven't killed him. So it's still good. That's still good.
That's still good.
I'm saying.
Still good.
So, life is still at times crazy.
Yes.
And a little difficult. And here's the thing. I have no idea how long he'll live, and neither does he.
Okay.
But it's our job to treasure each other.
Okay.
For as long as we're here. Not always easy. I'm not going to say that marriage is all that easy.
Yes.
But if you care about anybody, not just a spouse, but if you care about somebody, you love them through the tough times too.
Yes.
And you're there. especially in the rough times.
So tell me, how has your attitude changed from maybe the life you had before you found out that you had cancer? Like, what can you tell a major difference? I know that you said that you don't know why
True.
you have been spared,
right?
And I believe that you do know. You're just not aware of it yet. You're just
well,
not aware.
I do think part of the reason is that I had a story to tell that people needed to hear. I don't think so much so that I don't believe that every single person needs to hear me, up on a stage. But I do think there are many, many people who are looking at life who have good things happening in their life, but they can't see it.
Yes.
Because there's that gray cloud over their eyes. And there was a time in my life, I was not somebody who ever suffered from depression, but after my first husband passed away, that first 6 months was horrible, horrible.
Wow.
And there was a time when I thought, if I just take my car off the road, people would go, oh, she fell asleep. Nobody would ever think I intentionally killed myself. And as a therapist, because that was my early job as a primary counselor, I thought I knew what people felt like when they were depressed. And I learned in that 6 months,
no,
really. I didn't. No,
Not
I
really.
didn't. I really didn't.
Wow.
And while it was only that 6 month in time, during that 6 months, I thought a lot about maybe I should just, I knew I had medications that if I mixed, I could make that happen. I knew that I could run off the road.
Isn't that weird how that happens?
And what kept me from doing it was two things.
Okay.
One, my fear that I would run off the road and not die, that I'd just be like, and people would be like touching me, patting me, and singing to me, and that would just like freak me out. So I'm like, no, just stay on the road.
Okay.
And then the other thing really was that I've always worked with kids, mostly butt-headed teenagers, and I just kept thinking, what kind of an example is that? Even if they never knew, you would know.
Yes.
You told them, come on, look at the bright side. Come on, find the good.
Yes.
I had to remember that myself.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And whenever you're going through something in life, the very same advice that you give people, you fail to apply it to yourself because you may not be in that space. And let's be real. Right. So you're not facing that kind of problem at the moment, right? And you're very good about telling somebody else, and you help a lot of people. But when it comes to you, so my thought process has changed so much in that aspect, because as I speak to people and they're going through something, I now take a different approach and say, whatever it is that you're going through, whatever decisions that you make are yours, and they're okay. I have no business telling you what to do, because my level is completely different. What works for you may not work for me. And let me go even further than that. If I was to go through the same thing, I don't even know that I would react the same way. And I might look back and say, you know what? It's totally different for me. And I might even be worse than feeling, but you just don't know until that is happening. And so it's so easy, and people can be so critical and say, well, you should do this, you should do that, and how dare you put up with this and that. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to say that. Because it's so simple to tell somebody to do something, but it's different when you're going through it.
Absolutely.
And you making a decision, because a decision it's a decision ultimately, whether you're making one or not making one, you're still making a decision type of thing. So that, thank you for sharing your story. She has so many more. Like, the reason why we met is because you were taking on a different journey, right?
Absolutely. I was looking to, there was a lot of sexual abuse in my childhood and young early adulthood, and that created a lot of issues around body. And so I was morbidly obese almost my entire life. So when I met you, I had lost a little bit, but since we first met, I've lost 120 pounds. Still have about 50 to go. This is the during picture. This is not the after. But I really had to go through that journey of being vulnerable. As the weight comes off, of saying it's okay to be in this body now, because somewhere along the line I equated a smaller body with that gets too much attention, which leads to then people doing things inappropriately.
Okay.
And so for me,
Wow.
that became a real key. And one of the things that I do is I work with a makeup company, and they have a free retreat for any adult female who was sexually abused as a child.
Oh, wow.
And so, and we can get that information to the folks on your page.
Yes.
But I went to the Haven retreat because I said, I've done all the work, I've gone to therapy, I've worked on myself, but what's that last thing that's keeping me from shedding the weight? And it was a 4-day journey of really looking at, why can't I let it go? What's that final key? And what's interesting is the 120 has come off pretty easily. This last 50 has been super hard. So in my heart of hearts, I think there's one more key that needs to turn. That'll be what I'll be working on the rest of this year, is trying to figure out what is keeping me from doing the last bit. And I do know stress is up a little bit right now with Brian's help.
Wow. Yes.
And it's been a little crazy, but I don't think that's the real reason. I think there's still something
It's
that's
like a bystander almost.
Yep, absolutely. And so for me, that journey of, okay, what does a healthy weight look like? How do I feel at this weight? And like I said, have done really well with that. In fact, I have turned it into, because I know that I've been obese most of my life, so I have to figure out, how do I maintain this? It's not just about losing. How do I keep it off?
Yes.
And so one of the things I've done is kind of given back and have done some health coaching for others.
Wonderful.
I'm not so great on the nutrition piece, but as far as the emotional eating, that survivor feeling that comes up when you're trying to lose weight, if sex abuse has been in your past. And so it's been fun to watch some of my favorite people shed as little as like 25 to 30 pounds, and then others who have lost 100 or more, who are like, for the first time in their life, feeling free in their body and becoming an athlete again that they had not looked at since they were in high school.
Wow.
So it's been a really fun journey watching not just myself change shape and the thought process, but watching others do that as well. So that's
the process, right? We talk about the process often, and we think, I was listening to a book earlier, and it was talking about that if people started to document from the time that they started, whatever adventure it was, whatever it is, if they started and they started to document, at some point, we can somehow debunk the whole overnight success myth.
Yes. No.
Right? Because it's never that way. We drive around and we see a building just pop up, and you were like, when did that happen? That just happened overnight. Well, how long? They were clearing the land, they were building, they were doing, everything that it takes to make this building go up. And people just fail to see that, no. For some people, it takes 12, 15 hours every day. They grind so hard, for the rest of the time, however long it takes, there's lots of quotes out there. It only took Messi, the football player, so many days. I think they counted how many days it took him to become, famous or whatever like that, But people equate the overnight success to something that just happened overnight, but it's not real.
No, and the overnight success had many setbacks.
Oh, God.
In fact, I'm a firm believer in you cannot enjoy the mountaintop highs of life unless you've spent time in the valley. If you've never had anything bad happen to you, if you've never had tragedy, how do you even know what it feels like to be on top? Because you don't know what it feels like to be at the bottom.
No.
And while nobody wants to be at the bottom, I mean, nobody wakes up and goes, gee, I wish God would teach me something today about like being laid flat and not having any money and, not having any friends. Nobody prays for that.
No.
But you realize when you're going through those times, first of all, you can't appreciate those better times if you haven't been through the valley of life.
Exactly. So success, it's not about the destination. It's who you become as you get there. That is the real value.
It is the
and
day-to-day
a lot
journey.
of people don't get it. They just swear. Because some people, they say you become quote unquote successful. Then what? Then you're like, so what else? What can I do?
No, and that happens when you get a doctorate. You work on that dissertation for so long, and then you get the degree, And most people go through a 6-month slump afterwards because you've been churning to get to that one destination, and you forgot, no, that was just a pit stop. That was a rest. That was a rest area. That wasn't the destination.
Wow.
That was just a rest stop on the way. But people forget that. I mean, I forgot it. When I was done with the dissertation, all I wanted to do was sleep and not read anything for a long time because I was sick of reading research. But then you realize, oh yeah, it wasn't just about getting that piece of paper. It was, what am I going to do with this? Who am I going to reach? Who am I going to teach?
Yes.
And that certainly is part of my journey is, every day, who can I influence? Who can I help? Who can I spur them to do something different?
Yes.
Exciting, new.
Yes.
Because we all get stuck in the daily grind.
We
Myself
do.
Included.
We do.
You get up, I get up at 4.
Like robots.
I go to work out, and I hate working out. You can attest. Did I like it?
No.
I was not nice.
She was great.
Sarcastic humor.
I love it, but that's what kept me coming back.
So every day I would tell her how much I did not like her and how I did not think that these exercises that were kind, that she was being cruel, mean and heartless, and she just smiled, which then indicated she is mean, cruel, and heartless. But it worked.
It worked. We had such a ball. I mean,
yes.
Obviously you're like, yeah, sure, you're not the one doing the workout, but I looked forward every morning coming to you. I didn't mind waking up so early to come see you because I literally enjoyed coming to see you, hear your stories, hear about your journey. You know what I mean? So you talk about, let's back up a little bit because you talked about you don't know why you're here, and yet you talk about being able to share this story, being able to empower, and being able to say this to other people that perhaps have not told somebody they're being sexually abused or that they have a problem and they're not able to voice it. And you're quote unquote the voice of those who are not speaking. Okay? And then, so man, I believe that is part of your purpose.
I would agree. I would agree. And that's one of the reasons I've worked with foster children for so long. It's been 33, 34 years of a career in foster care, working with kids in residential care and helping them find a voice. Because in reality, children, even though they're much more empowered now than they were back when I was a kid, kids don't vote. They don't get a vote.
No.
And very often in families who are abusive or families who are neglecting their children, they don't have a voice until someone sees what's happening.
Yes.
They just take it, because what else can you do? You're powerless as a young child. And it's really cool watching kids who come into our care at Children in Crisis grow and realize I'm still a child, and if I go back home I still have to obey my parents, and I still have to go to school, and I have to do all these things, but I can become who I want to regardless of my past.
Yes.
And one of the things I tell especially our teenagers is every mistake that has been made in your life, whether you made it or somebody else did, you will decide, is that your stumbling block? Is that your Achilles heel? Or are you going to use it as a stepping stone to say, okay, I went through this, which taught me this lesson, therefore I can move forward.
Yes.
And then the next time you stumble and fall, okay, I learned this. Now I can move a little further forward. And yes, at times there's a setback. But every life lesson you learn,
I heard somebody say, a setback is just a setup for a comeback.
Yeah.
That's really what that is. So if we embrace it that way, we can learn. And somebody said, hey, you don't make mistakes if you learn.
And that is true. If you do the same thing over and over again, okay, now that is in error.
Yes. Now that.
Learn from that.
Yes.
But yes, some of the best life lessons, if you think about a 2-year-old, how do you learn not to touch the hot stove?
Jesus.
By touching it. Some of the early lessons in life we learn.
Yes.
We learn it because we did it wrong.
Yes.
So we're not all that savvy as adults.
No.
We still make mistakes that other people go, wait, what? How did you not know to not do that?
Right.
But for us, those little setbacks, those little pitfalls, you pick yourself up and you move on. And that's one of the hardest things when I work with children who've never had any resilience. They don't have that bounce back. And that's one of my key things when I work with kids is, no. If you get knocked down, it may take you a minute, to get back up, but you rise to your feet.
Yes.
You hold your head high and
Yes.
you move forward, even if you made a horrific mistake.
Yes.
Even if you have made some choices that have now led to lifelong consequences.
Yes.
You pick yourself up. I mean, I have kids who have unfortunately gone to prison. But here's the thing. Even if you are a lifelong prisoner, who are you while you're there? Pick yourself up. Hold your head high. Yes, you made mistakes, but be the best person you can be in that arena. Reach out to somebody else. There are other people who have options to get out. Help them understand that they have that.
Yes.
Do what you need to do to move forward.
Yes.
Take me as an example. Don't do what I did. You know, and again, we all make choices.
Yes.
I can give you lots of advice. It is your choice whether you follow through.
Mm-hmm.
But life has so much to offer.
Yes.
And we forget that some of the best things in life are free.
Yes.
They're right in front of us.
They're right in front of us, yes.
And unfortunately, especially in America, we stay so busy,
We don't have time to even notice.
we forget. We don't watch. We don't watch.
We're not
And-
present.
No, and one of the things that when people tell me, you know, they've had a setback, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is one of the best ways to make yourself feel better is to do something for someone else who will never know you did that.
Yes.
And do something kind, even if it's just write a note, even if it's just smile at the person who looks like they've lost their best friend. We never know how far that goes.
No, we don't.
You know, and I will tell you, I had, and of course, I'm a very sarcastic humor person. So one of, yes, I am.
You haven't caught it yet.
But one of the things that I've done is when people hit that wall of ugly from
Yes.
somebody else, is to turn it around. I had a wonderful young friend whose baby had craniofacial deformity, and
Oh, wow.
her baby had to wear a helmet for the first 2 years. It's more and more common now, but when her child was diagnosed was years ago, and people were cool. They would walk to her and go, "What's wrong with your baby?"
Wow.
And I said to her, you know, here's the thing. I know it hurts your heart because you're taking it in not just as the mama, but you're taking in what your child is witnessing in that little moment. And I said, I think it's time to come up with some really good answers that shut people up.
Yes.
And we brainstormed answers, and her favorite one was, from now on, when people asked,
Yes.
her answer was, who knew babies didn't bounce? And just keep pushing the buggy.
Oh, wow.
And she said she would turn around and people would just be like,
What?
and she called me and she goes, that was so much fun. And she said, but you know what happened right after one of the best ones where somebody just jaw dropped?
Jaw dropped, yes.
She said, I heard somebody crying in the next aisle over because she couldn't afford diapers. And she was looking for the cheapest package. And she said, all I did was give her a couple of dollars so that she could buy that diaper. And she said, Judy, I feel so good. And she said, I don't feel like I rescued anybody. I didn't do anything big. She said, but that moment in time, watching that person struggling, trying to figure out how she was going to take care of her kid, made me remember, I'm blessed. My child has medical insurance. My child is being taken care of. Here's a mom struggling to buy a diaper.
Wow.
And I can help.
Wow.
And I mean, that's one of my things that I say to our kids. Who can you help today?
Yes. Who can you add value today?
Absolutely.
You know, who can you add value to? Because ultimately, that's what life is all about. If you
part of
took
being
the
human.
time, if you took the time to add value to people, it just becomes such a great existence every day. If I just pick 3 people that I just want to add value to every single day, your life will be tremendously different.
Yeah.
You wouldn't focus so much on what's happening to you. You know?
And when you look for good, you find it.
You do.
When you are looking for the positives in life, you will find them.
Yes.
When you look for the negative, I assure you, you will also
You
find
will
that.
also find it, yes.
And again, I'm not great every day. I mean, there are days I wake up and go, okay, I'm done with this. You know? So I'm not saying I'm Pollyanna and I have the positive view every day, every moment.
Yes.
I have to remind myself too, it's
Yes.
not about me. It's about we.
Yes.
What can I do for other people?
Yes.
Because that makes me happy.
Yes.
It makes me smile to think somebody felt a little different just because.
Just because.
Yeah.
it's as simple as a smile.
Yes.
Like sometimes I do a test. Sometimes I'll smile at people just because. And some of them you can tell it's uncomfortable because it's not the everyday. You know, they're just probably just upset with the world and whatever is going on in their lives, and I just smile, and you could see their expressions on their face. They really want to smile. They're like, "Why are you smiling at me?" Or some of them are like, "Oh, you know," you can tell the different expressions of people's faces, and sometimes some people will say, "You know what? I needed that." Just a simple smile can change somebody's life around, and why not? It's free.
Yes.
You got this wonderful smile that you can share with people. And not to mention, I think they did a study where they took a pencil. So they had a study where people were like actually just pretending to smile, right? And then the other one actually to hold I think a pencil in their teeth or something like that.
Yes, you are correct. Yes, I've read that research. Yes.
Yes. And I was so astonished that the people what were they doing? Do you remember?
Well, it was fake smile versus real smile.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
And what they found out that it was so much harder to fake smile, that it took more effort to put on the fake smile than just to genuinely
Just
smile.
Just smile.
You know.
It's so simple. And plus, you release so many other endorphins just
Yes.
by smiling. I mean, we could probably not be at the doctor so much,
True
you know,
story.
because of if you're able to. One of the things that I've heard somebody say is if you can just be able to laugh at yourself, right? Just the things that happen to you on a day-to-day basis. I think you complaining about earlier. What did you say? I say complaining, but you were like, something happened to me earlier.
Oh yeah, my shoe broke first thing this morning. I had to go get crazy glue to put my shoe back on.
So it's just something as simple as that, right? And that will just throw off your day for the rest. And that's just, and you're kind of like, oh my God, now what's gonna break next? You know, but if you're like, ha, it broke, you know, and then let me get some, you know, I know that's your attitude, even though it probably bothered you, but you're like, crazy glue, whatever, I'm just gonna put this thing on and I'll be fine. And you're fine.
Yes.
And you're fine, but it's all about attitude at the end of the day. It's all about how you take things, you know, how you deal with life, and if you have a great attitude about it, it just makes it easier.
Absolutely.
Makes it totally easy. I'm so glad that you're here. We've been planning this, guys, for like ever.
Yes, months and months.
Months and months ago. We're like, oh my God, when are we ever going to do this? I'm so glad you came. And we were actually able to do it. So tell me, do you have any information for me as far as children in crisis? How can we help?
Well, there's lots of ways to help.
Okay.
If you think about any child age 6 on up to 22, anything that a child in that age range would need, we provide at CIC for our kids.
Wow.
When the kids come to us, they often come with just maybe the clothes they have on.
Okay.
It is not unusual that they don't have a hairbrush, a toothbrush, toothpaste. They were picked up literally sometimes in the middle of the night.
Wow.
We specialize in keeping sibling groups together. So the good news is, even though you have had to say goodbye to your home and to whoever was taking care of you at the moment, we make sure that we keep our sibling groups together.
That's wonderful.
And so we have a family-style home. We hire married couples who then have 2 or 3 groups of siblings in a home. They have anywhere from 8 to 12 kids in a house. It is a large house filled with lots of noise. But yeah, anything that a kid would need, we often need.
Okay.
And of course, you know, so I mean, there are so many ways to help. You can volunteer for our events. We are always looking for volunteers. Our kids go to public school, so anything that a child would need for school, we do that as well.
Okay.
But you know, with Christmas around the corner, we often have businesses who sponsor like one of our houses and do Christmas for the kids. But we also have people who just, you know, put an activity together for the kids. So maybe there's a group who says, you know what, I'd love to take all the kids roller skating, and we'll pay for the tickets, and so we'll do that as well.
And how can we reach out to you? Like, is there a
super
number?
simple? Yep.
Okay.
864-4242.
Okay.
And we can put in the comments an email for our volunteer and events coordinator. And then if you just have general questions, we're on Facebook.
Okay.
And we're on Facebook a lot. You'll see all of our events. You'll see pictures.
And what is your Facebook page?
It is Children in Crisis, Inc. And of course, we're in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, so that'll weed out anybody else with that name. But there you'll have all of the numbers and the address and our website. In fact, if you want to look at our video and kind of see what we do, it's childrenincrisisfl.org. So FL for Florida, just don't spell Florida out.
Okay.
And that way you can look at our campus. You can see the video, and then you can see all the ways that you can help. But on any given day, we have between 40 and 50 kids.
Yes.
So we are literally a neighborhood of kids.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Judy,
Absolutely.
for coming here, for sharing your story, for inspiring those who are watching. You know, and for those who will watch, please like and share our video.
Absolutely.
You know, this, like I said, this story was so impactful to me. And there's so much more, and we will continue. I'm hoping that she will come back, and we could do more, and we could talk about, you know, other things, because there's just so much more. You have so much to give, and we need to share, because there's people out there that only hear your voice, and your voice only. And you can change lives if everybody understood that.
Yes.
Some people hear my voice, but some people hear only your voice.
Right.
And so we need more messengers of hope. And I believe that 100%. So that's why I'm so excited about Salon 7 engaging in these type of interviews and sharing people that I meet and sharing the story, because for one, they're impactful. They're not my stories. My stories are completely different. Sure. And that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
That if nobody can tell your story the way that you can tell it. I will tell people, you know, I know a little bit of a story. I'm not going to tell you because I want her to say it on camera. But I just couldn't elaborate or even say with the level of enthusiasm, or even it's just the feelings that come behind it.
Sure. Telling
a story that can only come from you. And so I thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your transparency. You know, this is awesome, because the only way that an individual, say somebody who's struggling with either alcohol or, you know, sexual abuse, or in any area, okay, that they're struggling with, a person that has gone through that can speak to them because they understand they've gone through it. It's sort of like what we were speaking about earlier.
There's power.
There is power in that, because you can relate to that person. Absolutely. In that area. Absolutely. And now that person feels they can connect with you and perhaps reach out to you. Absolutely. And say, whatever, you know, something you said really stuck with me, and you just don't know the reach. I mean, we have the internet nowadays, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You
never know.
You don't even know where this is going to go. Yeah. We don't know. But what we are responsible for is speaking it, sharing it. Yes. Yeah. Because we never know the level of impact. And nowadays, it's not just, you will write a book one day, I'm sure, right?
Almost done.
See? There it is. There it is. So not only will she voice it, but she'll be able, somebody will be able to pick up that book and be empowered by it. And I just think that's so wonderful. All of those things that you say you don't know why you're here.
Well, I look at it this way. I'm still not dead yet.
Yes.
So as long as I'm not dead,
you're going to continue.
Have a purpose.
Yes, you have. Everybody. And, you know, sometimes it's difficult to pinpoint, I think, because I find myself struggling that way too. What is it I do well? What is it that I can help people at? What do people, did I add value today? Did somebody walk away from me and saying, you know, I see this way? Gosh, the last time I spoke to you, I was able to accomplish this because of something that I didn't. It wasn't important enough, or it was at that point. Are you practicing? Are you empowering? They give you a present with something, and that something turns into something. So I think when do you release your book?
I have to wrap up last 50 pages. It's been very difficult to write the end.
Okay.
So I've kind of in my mind, maybe there's a part 2 that I'll have to write later.
Okay.
But that I need to finish it, because I do think it is a reminder to me that as long as I'm dead, there's purpose, there's no meaning, there's still a reason I need to move forward.
Okay. That makes sense. Something else you mentioned earlier that just popped in my head is you were going to give information about the retreat.
Haven retreat. Yes. And what I will do is once this post, I'll go down below.
Yes.
Through the connection, and it's YOUNIQUE, Foundation.com. Yes. You fill out a one-page inquiry.
Okay.
You have to get yourself to Utah, but the retreat itself is like a 5-star resort, and it's completely free. So you just have to get there and back. But that 4-day retreat is 100% funded by who actually paid me to have a way to fund this retreat.
Wow.
So a very cool thing, but we'll post that going to.
And then some other thing you can talk about your experience there. And awesome. I know that you have children coming from there. I remember like it was yesterday, but I'm not gonna say it. You're just gonna have to wait till next time we get on live, and we'll talk about it then. Again, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. Thank you for watching, and again, like and share our page, please. And if you have any questions, comments, please by all means write your comments on the page there, and we'll answer them as soon as we can. Have a great day, guys. Enjoy your weekend.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Miss Judy.
Thank you.
Bye.